who's our Director Quality of Weekly Sales. He would be sharing some of his knowledge regarding the industry that he's working in. He's a renowned speaker, bit famous on YouTube, so I want to learn that how to start a YouTube channel. It's been 1 year. I'm planning to start a YouTube channel, but I'm not able to. I don't know why. What is keeping me behind this? But let's have a round of applause for Mr. Sardar Khan.
Okay, Assalamualaikum artisans. How's everyone feeling? I hope Peter was able to wake you guys up a bit. And I'm sure all of you recognize me by now. I had the pleasure of speaking here in 2024 as well on the topic of GraphQL Laravel. And this year again in 2025, it is Fakar Bhai, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity again. And such an honor to give the inaugural talk at Laravel Live 2025 in Lahore. For those of you who don't know me, I'm predominantly Laravel developer with around 3,348 contributions in 2024 in shape of pull requests, commits, code reviews, and I have expertise in multiple languages, but Laravel is really my so Laravel is basically really my love. I generally love these Laravel events like this. They bring the community together, spark ideas, and remind us why we love building with Laravel in the first place. I'm passionate about giving back to this amazing community in every way I can. So I've been attending these events since 2018. The bottom picture, I was answering a question in 2018 in Islamabad. And so today I'll be speaking about vibe coding, and specifically we'll be building a small Laravel project, a small Laravel API, and we'll explore vibe coding. So basically these days, vibe coding is like really a buzzword, and if you go on YouTube or any other social media platform, you go to X, and everybody seems to mention it. And people are doing all kinds of stuff with vibe coding without having a lot of knowledge of a particular language or a particular domain, and they are like doing pretty well for somebody who's only starting with something. So vibe coding basically refers to a method of software development where individuals describe their desired software feature to an AI, an LLM, and the AI generates the code. So it's not you who write the code. Basically, from start to finish, the AI actually writes the code, and this actually shifts the developer focus from coding to refining and guiding, basically, instead of writing the code yourself. So basically, just refine the AI's output. You don't actually write something. You don't actually give it anything. You can probably build, for in the interest of time, I've added a small project. I've started a Laravel project, but I haven't added a lot of stuff. So that's something that was a dream a few months ago. Building something from scratch without having a knowledge of any particular domain. So I'm going to kind of act like a noob and act like someone who doesn't have a lot of information, who doesn't have a lot of knowledge of Laravel, and just go with the flow. So just see how it goes. And so there are actually these two IDs that have really revolutionized the whole process. So Cursor and Windsurf, there are actually other players out there as well. For example, there is like GitHub Copilot who have started an agent mod, so you can, if people who are using GitHub Copilot, you can actually explore that. But I'm honestly yet to explore that. I think they've just added it a few days ago, and taking a cue from these guys. But I really like these two, Cursor and Mixer, so I'll be using, for today's demo, I'll be using Cursor. Now the features that these two have, they are pretty similar. So they both work with MCPs. I'm sure all of you know of MCPs by now, but if you don't, that's a topic for another talk. They are context aware, so basically they know what's going on around your project, they know what's happening, what is where, and they actually look over errors. So this is where they come across an error, they actually go to they automatically look over the error and try to fix the issue there and then go from there. And they run commands on their own, and they are also able to create files on their own now. They also work with images, so you can actually give them some visual context. You can give them a screenshot and say, okay, for example, if it doesn't have access to a particular tab in Chrome, you can give it a screenshot and say, okay, this is the error I'm facing, and it can actually work with that. And as if the knowledge that the LLM already has is not enough, it actually can also browse the web. So it can actually go and check for a solution from the web instead of just working with the knowledge that it has. So for example, one of the days where we had we were restricted with the 2021 knowledge that basically ChatGPT had. So you can now work with any solution. It can find any solution that was just posted moments ago as well. Although you have to explicitly kind of call it. So ideal chat is the biggest feature. So previously, coding with AI was kind of like difficult. You would have to go back and forth with between ChatGPT and your IDE. So you would copy your problem into ChatGPT, it would give you a solution, and then you would come back to the IDE and kind of go back and forth. And that would, after seeing today's demo, you'll probably think, that's it was actually better doing it yourself. So with this, you'll see that it's a lot more autonomous. And there is autocomplete, good old autocomplete. That is kind of like a thing of the past. You can actually upload documents. So you give it some basic rules to work with, but then you can give it specifically give it docs. For example, you can give it Laravel docs, and it will follow them completely. So the real question that kind of sometimes haunts me as well. So will the AI replace me? And what we're diving into today is something that might feel crazy, like completely autonomous or at least semi-autonomous. Project creation all from a single prompt sounds wild, right? But it's real. And I'll walk you through a demo where with just minimal input, a full project can be will come together. And it's the kind of thing that makes you stop and wonder, has AI replaced me already? But here's the truth. Even the most advanced AI will still need guidance, at least for now, and likely for a very long time to come. So it's humans who will be steering the ship, really. They will be telling the AI what to build. They'll be giving it the vision, and they'll be probably making architectural and other critical decisions. So that said, you will be surprised by the amount of input that's required. The amount of input that's required from humans is dramatically increasing over time. A few prompts and you get a product. You get a working product. So, so what are we building today? We will be building an API that will cover events and participants, going with the theme of Laravel Live, and using wire coding as a newbie in Cursor. We will just use some basic prompts and ask it to simply build it out for us. So let's see how it goes. So remember, this is with zero prep. And the outcome is almost always different. The key is to analyze what you get and steer the AI to do the task from start to finish. No commands, no coding. So before I move on to the actual thing, I would like to introduce BBC as LLC, who are the co-sponsors of Laravel Live Pakistan. They are basically we're a replacement of the modern call center. And we are always hiring. We are supposed to have a small booth here as well, so you guys can approach us. You'll see the top talent from Pakistan who are already working for us. We can take advantage of their knowledge. And if you're a .NET developer yourself, please feel free to kind of hit one of us on LinkedIn or shoot us an email. You can email me at khan@bdsales.com. So without further ado, let's write code. So our first talk is going to be a website called cursor.directory. Okay. I have a Laravel project here which is running on loop.test. This is basically running on using Laravel Valet, so this is always available. I don't have to put it up again. And this cursor.directory is basically a cache of, it's a big collection of different set of rules that you can use to work with cursor. So we'll give it a quick search to find Laravel rules. And okay, so as you can see, there are a few rules here. There are a few here. For example, like I'll just pick the first one to give you guys an idea. This is the one that I've picked up and done, slight modifications. Some of them might be, loop levels. Some of them might not be, but that's the only exception that's going to be there in this talk. So these are the basic rules that are there. So you are an expert in Laravel, and then it gives it, just your standard prompt that you'll be working with any LLM. The only difference is that it's a bit more structured and it's giving it a lot of the Laravel specific stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move to cursor. And to kick it off, I'll be adding a cursor rules file. And I have the modified, in the interest of time, I have the modified rules here. So I'll just save this. So this is the same stuff, almost the same stuff. There's not a lot of changes in this, but what I'm doing is I'm only asking it that, for example, Laravel 12 was not mentioned, so I'm saying Laravel 12, use Laravel 12 syntax where possible. And then, for example, some of the stuff that I don't like, I'm just saying these are just really personal preferences. You don't really need to kind of do this. You can simply use one of the set recipes that are out there. You don't really actually have to kind of do any modifications, but there is certain stuff that I actually like. So I have just sprinkled that bit in the rules. So for example, I noticed it was using the legacy is faker syntax. So because I write factories for a living, so I'm into testing domain as well. So I actually like the fake syntax. So I told it, okay, can you use the new fake syntax? Then always add relationships in API resources when loaded, and always define states on factories where appropriate, and create factories first, and then use them in tests, and use soft delete trait on normal. So these are a few of my references, including some of the debatable ones like don't use enums in the database. But yeah, you can always make your own choices. And you can say, okay, this is what I want to use and this is what I don't want to use. So without further ado, we'll give it another. We'll give it something that's not techy at all. So we're only going to say, can you build a public Laravel run API for me for events and participants? So this is like really simple. We're not giving it a lot of other instructions and stuff, but as you can see, it's going to pick up from custom rules and it's going to start building the project. So for the purpose of this demo, I have selected the setting to ask every time when it's running a command. I've not asked it to do an auto run. You can completely do that. So you can actually start a project and you can simply tell it to auto run and it will complete the project and it will tell you loop over errors, and in the end it will tell you, okay, everything is done and now you can do the API here. But I'm going to do it because it's a demo. So okay, now that's a mistake that is sometimes made. So I'm going to ask it, I'm going to tell it I already have a project. I can type. Alright, and okay, so it's saying, alright, another thing that I feel it sometimes misses, and I'm going to add that. It might as well do it later in the flow of things, but and I've mentioned that in the test rules as well, but I just want it taken care of upfront. So this is a personal preference. It's not like you leave it 100% to the AI. You can in the beginning, and you can let it build what you want, but you can also make adjustments as you go. For example, over here, if you want, along with the migrations, if you want the factory created as well, you can add the Fs and let it roll with its thing. Or you can add your set of instructions. Can we install API scaffolding first? Okay, now look at the answer that you get back. Yes, absolutely. Let's install Laravel API scaffolding as per best practices. This is the project's API structure and authentication. So run command. I hope this is clear enough for everyone.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, now it's coming back to its thing. So if you want, you can add the factory, but I'll just let it flow with its own thing. Yeah. Okay, I'm not also going to go into a lot of details, a lot of nitty-gritty, like, okay, I want these properties on the database and I don't want these, and or I want to make these changes. Just in the interest of time, because I don't have, I have 30 minutes, so I would like to kind of wrap it up within that time. So this will actually just keep going. It will just keep doing its thing. It will just keep rolling, and it will add. And as you can see, for example, it is adding the soft deletes on the table. It's also adding soft delete straight on the model, and it's doing it for every model. And now it's asking me that it's asking me to create an API controller. And as you can see, it's giving the hyphen API, so it understands all the intricacies of Laravel. So it's not like just doing a wild thing that it used to be in the beginning, like, okay, it's just throwing a guess at it, and then you have to do a lot of stuff. But right now it's almost doing everything on its own. So now it's making the event resource and the participant resource, and if you look at the resources, I'm not even looking at the data. So what I'm going to do is once it is done generating these files, I just do an exec call. So that accepts everything that it is done. So I'm blindly trusting it to do the right thing, right? Okay. Now, one set of rules that I gave it is if there are more than 3 validations on a particular controller, you write it in a separate request class, right? So it's shifting everything there, and it's writing better rules than I do. Apparently. Okay. So participant request, now it's writing the event resource, and as you can see, for example, it's mentioning, it's using the when loaded as instructed. So it has done the event resource, it has done the participant resource, it has written the reciprocal relationships, and now it's building out the resource. Okay, install. Okay, this guys in migrate. Let's hope it doesn't come across any error during the demo, but if it does, it's going to loop over the code itself, and it's going to kind of try to fix it there and then. Now it's telling me that the API is ready. All right. So you can, for example, go to api.php, and you can see that it's public. There's no, although Sanctum is available, it has not, because I told it to add a Sanctum, add a public API. So it's just adding public endpoints. It's not doing any Sanctum or any other stuff. So it's telling me that the API is ready now, and the route and everything seems to be here. So let's see. Can you check the routes to see they are there, or the API is ready? Okay, so it's running PHP and route list, and that's going to give you all the routes. So now the next step should be I can go to the browser and I can check if everything is there. It's giving me a curl request that I can give this curl request and I can actually go and check if that's there. But I need to obviously populate some data so that we can at least see something coming out from the API, right? All right. I'm going to ask it to populate some data using factories. So I'm deliberately not being very specific, right? I'm just letting it do its thing. So it's creating event factory and participant factory, and now it's going to populate the factory, and it's going to create a factory according to the database stuff and according to what's on the model. And by the way, on the model it's also filling protected failable, which a lot of us usually forget. So, and if you go to factories, you can, let me show you in real time how it's doing, right? So go to event factory. And as you can see, it's actually giving you a lot of states. Like a lot of us write factories and they don't actually specify any states. They just write some code and then they're passing attributes and all that, but it's just giving us different states. So active, inactive, and large and small and all that, yeah. And then participants, it's also, and notice that it's using the new fake syntax. Okay, now it's going to add a seeder so that you can see the database and then we can see the data from the API endpoint. I hope everyone is enjoying it so far. I'm not boring everyone. Am I? Okay. So it's writing seeders and now it's going to run the seeder. So sometimes it generates an event participant seeder, sometimes it generates an event seeder. Okay, now it's increased in DB. Okay. Now it comes across an error, right? Now let's see what it does. So I haven't told it to fix it. It's going on a spree to fix it, and sometimes it makes two to three attempts. Sometimes it's able to do it in the first go. No, not this time around. So it's going to overwrite again. I see the issue, right? Okay, PHP artisan migrate fresh seed. Yeah, okay. So now everything is seeded, everything is populated in the database. So I'm using a tool called Base here, which actually works with SQLite databases. So if you go to the database itself, you'll see that you have some participant records. Okay, that we actually use Introdel, right? I hope I'm not overshooting my time. Okay, now Tinkerbell is a tool that's outside the. It's not outside the Laravel ecosystem. I'm sure a lot of you might have heard about Tinkerbell, but it's an improved version of Tinker. So that's what I use. So it's telling me you can go here and you can check event count. So I'm going to open Tinkerbell. And here I have some code from some previous iterations. So sorry about this. Event. Sorry if I'm wronging it, but yeah, okay. So event count, and so there are 10 events. You can use some of the others. For example, you can use participant count, participant group by, and all of these different queries. You can actually run them all in one go as well. Okay, and I will even have to import the participant. So you'll see see all of that is working. So let's go to the endpoint and try to see the events. So you see that full-blown API along with factories and everything else is there. The data is populated, and you can actually see the event along with the participants relationship loaded. And this is the index. This is the show. And you can also do, first delete and create is also going to work, I'm sure of that. So in the interest of time, I'll skip that. But if you go to participants, you'll also see all the list of participants along with the relationship, the event relationship also loaded. Okay, so what next? What else can we do? Can you write some API tests using, let's say, specification? Okay. So it knows out of the box. It knows the whole Laravel ecosystem. So now it's writing. It's going to create some tests. Do you want a broad cursor for what it has done till now? Everyone? Come on, it created everything for you without you doing anything. So I think it needs some applause. And even if it's an AI, it can probably use some applause. So now it's writing some tests, and as you can see, it's using best syntax and not PHP unit, right? So while it does its thing, I'm not a Node.js developer, right? I'm not a Node.js developer. I am into Nuxt a lot, but I'm not into Node. And I built a tool over the weekend with frontend and backend using Cursor. And it has a lot of these tools. I actually got a domain for it since I was building it, so maybe it might, you never know. People are making tons of money out of crappy games these days, so maybe. So there's like these different tools: UUID generator, URID generator, timestamp converter, logarithm generator, all that. So all of this was built in one weekend without having zero knowledge of Node. Like I never wrote a single line of Node. So all the backend for this is there, so you can go out there and you can check how it's done. So you can build anything really. It's not like the AI is always going to build everything and it's just going to, it won't build everything on its own, not at least now. So you can go out there and you can actually see, okay, if you have a project in your mind that you couldn't build because of your job or some other side of dependencies, you can just go out there and build something really quick. And just get the proof of concept out there to the world and see if everything is working as expected. So it is writing some tests and it's then coming across another error. So as soon as it fixes these errors, I think I'm done with my talk here. But so 7 failed and 9 passed. Not a good score. But let's see what it does. Now it's actually checking that because it wrote these tests, it's checking that there is something wrong in the participant's controller. We need to return better stuff, or we need to sync the two. So it's now writing that, making those changes, and running the test again. Okay, still the same. So it's going to loop over it again. It's not going to ask me what's wrong. Can you go and check? No. So I haven't done anything. If you see, just because of this demo, I'm giving it some input, but otherwise I'm not doing anything at all. It is just doing everything on its own, right? If you look at different files, it is going to give you you're going to see that all the best practices have been followed. and everything that I mentioned in the custom rules files, that is also sorted. I don't know, maybe edited or something. Oh, so authorize. I think some of us also forget this when we are adding these request classes. We actually forget the name false to true, so that can be a problem, and that can cause some issues with certain tests because you're not authorized to do certain stuff. So, all right, I'm just going to let it do this iteration, and now it's updating the rest as well. Right. Okay. And let's accept all. Let's run the test again. So now it's 12 passed and 4 failed, right? Do I have more time? Even if I don't say anything, I'm just doing it so that it goes over this quickly. But things always go by monotonous, so I'm not the first, I'm sure. Okay, anyways, we're down to 3. So it's going to loop over all the tests and it's going to one by one fix them. And if there is any reciprocal issue in the code, it's going to go there and it's going to fix it. And so imagine, like, I think my initial talk was the introduction and everything was maybe 7-8 minutes. So in around 22 minutes, you can actually put together a full-blown API with tests and with the models and controllers and everything, and following the best practices out here. So I'm sure it's going to have all the tests passed shortly, but in the interest of time, I'll conclude my talk here. Thank you so very much, everyone, for listening to me patiently, and hope to see you guys soon.